All right. Welcome back to the podcast. This is number 3.
Yeah.
Are you excited for this one?
In what way?
I don't know.
I'm excited to be back on. I think it's fun.
Yeah.
But the book was something else.
I was really excited about this book, actually. I had been looking forward to it for a while. It's actually one that Joe Rogan talks about quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. And
who else talks about it? There's a couple other people that talk about this book all the time. And I was like, all right, well, if that's a book that I should read it, I guess. Overall, what were your thoughts on the book? Just really, we'll dive deep, but surface level.
Surface level, it's really long. Mm-hmm. And really detailed about things that I felt weren't as important as other details that he left out.
Okay.
So that was, it makes sense that Joe Rogan is really into this book because he's all into the silver bullet, you know,
what do you mean by
the golden egg or whatever. It's like, that's the one answer. Right. So because of that, it's like, okay, it makes sense. Like, we can get into it, but it's like, cut sugar and you will never have any disease ever again. That's kind of the thing that I got. But.
So this week's book is The Case Against Sugar, for those of you who haven't looked on the Instagram. I do feel like I should do a little bit of a better job. I got a comment on YouTube, like one of the few that I've gotten, but from a stranger. So that's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. He said he really liked the podcast. He said that he listened to it on the way to work. It was a really cool idea. He's like, I wish there was a way that I could read along. So if you could announce the books that you're going to be reading. And I responded and was like, it's all on Instagram. Like, follow us at Blackley Podcast. But I do want to kind of do a little bit of housekeeping on the podcast so that people know what's coming up, so that you can always stay up to date. Like if you want to read the next couple books with me. So this week is The Case Against Sugar. Next week is going to be The Boys in the Boat. We're trying to get that one done right before it comes out in theaters. So that one comes out Christmas. The Boys in the Boat should be, I think the episode goes live on the 20th, so 5 days before Christmas. Mm-hmm. So that'll be pretty cool. After that, we're going to do 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. And then we're going to do a bonus episode this month sometime with, I always forget this book's name. All the Lonely People. So it's one of Olivia's favorite books. She said it's like a feel-good book, and I thought I should do one feel-good for Christmas. And so
you're not going to read like Christmas Carol or whatever it's called?
No.
Scrooge?
No. I wanted to read something where I didn't know the story.
Yeah.
You know, something new. So that one will just kind of drop randomly whenever I record it. Mm-hmm. Sometime this month. But yeah, so that's the order of books for the month. So if you want to read along, that's great. But this week's book is The Case Against Sugar. And as you can tell, didn't work. I really, really, really wanted to be drinking a Monster in this episode.
I told Quinn on the way up here, I was like, I'm going to pull a kickstart out from the thing. And the first thing I'm going to do is, but it's late and
almost
I forgot.
It's almost 9:30 at night. I have Monsters literally right there. And I was walking downstairs with this glass of chocolate milk, and Olivia was like, you look like you're 5. What are you doing drinking chocolate milk? I was like, well, it's 9:30 at night, and I don't have anything not caffeinated in my fridge.
Yeah.
And so it was either a Monster, which would keep me up till like 2 a.m, or chocolate milk. And I was like, well, I got to do something, because throughout this entire book, all I can say is I felt personally attacked anytime he said sugary drinks.
I thought of you like, obviously I'm coming on the podcast, but literally I was like, really? Brandon picked this book. The only other person I could think of where I'm like, what are you going to pull out of this? I know you're not going to quit sugar is Mom. So, she's the only other person I know who eats more sugar than you.
I don't eat sugar.
That's right. I guess you just drink sugar.
Yes. For those of you who don't know me, I live a very healthy lifestyle, minus the fact that I don't think I've drank water in like, I don't know, a couple of years. I basically just drink juice and soda. Like I love juice and soda. Other than that though, I'm fairly healthy. I eat vegetables. We have our own like farm grown cows that we slaughter here. I do eat a lot of, fresh caught fish from Alaska. We buy all organic. Olivia's a super healthy cook and she tries to be very healthy. And genuinely, I eat really healthy.
Except heroin.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. Except I drink like 2 or 3 sodas a day. Like that's about it.
Yeah.
I just really like soda. And I've been trying to like switch it out a little bit for those True Lemons because those don't have any added sugars into them. So they're just, they're actually about as healthy as you can get without actually drinking, without it being water. So I drink actually quite a bit of that. And I've cut back. I've been trying to do like 1 soda a day outside of if we eat out. So if we eat out, I'll get 1. Otherwise, I'll only have 1 throughout the day. So that's been like a big step for me. Like a big step for me.
Congratulations.
But yeah, other than that, I really, it was kind of personal. I felt like Michael Jordan the entire time. Like I took that personal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And at one point while reading this book, I will say I did Google how to cut sugar out. Because that's the other thing. It's like it's absurdly hard. Like the premise of this book is cool, but it's completely unattainable. You know what I mean? Like you can't in a modern diet completely cut sugar out. It's absurd. It's in everything. But I was like, how would you even go about doing that? You know what I mean? Like what would be the first steps? What should we buy? Like if I was to just try to cut back. And the first thing it said was like drink more water. And I was like, click. Screw that. I'm not.
I don't even understand why you don't like drinking water.
It's disgusting. Actually, it's
even when you go to jiu-jitsu, you never drink it.
No. I just wait till I get home.
That's insane.
Dude, when I skated, I rarely drink water. I'd bring a water bottle to practice and I'd drink maybe half of it. I just didn't drink water.
That's more important than sugar.
Yeah, I know.
You need to be hydrated.
I am.
I mean,
look, I got some milk.
Yeah. All right. Milk and sugar.
Yeah, mixed with some chocolate.
Yep.
Hershey syrup. Does that have sugar in it? Not quite sure.
Are you serious?
Oh, I'm just kidding.
I was like, for a second there, I was like, bro,
did you
a Hershey?
Did you learn anything?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of my thought on the book. One, it was just completely unattainable. Like,
yeah,
his wrap up made me laugh. When you were like, do I need to read the last 30 minutes of this book? I was like, yeah, you do. Because his wrap up is absurd. He's basically like, how do we fix this? Don't let your kids ever try sugar and avoid it for your entire life like the plague. And then he casually throws in there, the author, he's like, and it's like really hard to quit because I smoke.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah. Also, sugar is the same thing as nicotine, by the way.
Which I do. And I was like, all right, all credibility thrown out. Like, dude, you're like, you need to live a healthy lifestyle, cut out sugars. Like, this is the worst thing on the planet. And he's like, by the way, I smoke cigarettes. I was like,
well, he quit.
That's true, I guess. Yeah. Whatever. I was like, geez.
Yeah.
Your argument's gone.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Like, so I will finish my degree in biology this spring.
Finally.
And yeah. I mean, it hasn't been that long. It's very average what everyone does. Anyway.
Wasn't as long as me, I guess, but.
Yeah. So through all of school, you kind of like pick a vein of something that you kind of want to nerd out on in all of your classes. And then you just research that stuff because that way, I mean, this is the smart way to do it because that way, like when you go into a new class and they're like, hey, write a paper on X, you already have all of these papers that you've kind of saved in your computer. Like you already have a background knowledge of it. You don't have to like, and it's not like one specific thing, but it's like an umbrella of things, right?
Yeah.
So what I picked essentially was nutrition and diet.
Really?
Yeah. So for the past like 4 years, that's what I've nerded out on. And so like last year, I literally wrote a paper on non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and its relation to sugar. So like
You knew a lot of this stuff.
yeah, and then that was kind of the thing. It's like between that and staying up really late watching the History Channel with my father-in-law on like the food that built America. So you like, it's like a mini docuseries on like Hershey and Post and Kellogg's and like all of those guys. Like I felt like a lot of the history and stuff that he gets into, like I kind of already knew. So I was waiting through the whole book for him to get into the math, essentially. Because say like a building keeps falling down, right? An architect is going to say like, are they going to look at it and be like, well, let's build another building similar to it and see if it falls down. Like, no, they're going to do the math and figure out why it's falling down, essentially the engineering problem of it. But for me, the math in my mind is like, dude, just teach me the biochemistry. Like, if you just show me the biochemistry, I'll believe you.
But he even kind of discredits that in the book.
Yeah, which makes no sense.
Because what does he talk about? There was like something specific where he talks about, salt. It's when he's talking about salt.
Yeah.
And he basically just says like, people believe that salt causes heart damage more than
because it causes
sugar.
Hypertension.
Because it causes hypertension and like all of this stuff. And he's basically like, although the chemistry backs out, I don't think so. And I was like, okay, like, but other than that, you're right. He doesn't ever go back to the origins. And what I will say is like, it's just impossible to prove.
Yeah. Well, and also it's like, what's the point of proving it? Like he has a whole argument. Basically the entire book's argument is on the idea of is it like Occam's razor or whatever? That you try to simplify it down to one issue, right? So he's trying to simplify all of our health.
Time out.
What?
He says Occam's razor like 10 times. What is that?
So it's like a philosophical way of, it's not a philosophical way, but it's like, it's a thought scaffolding that says that you're going to boil a given problem down to one solution.
Oh, okay.
Right. So say in this context, we have
a health
problem and we're going to boil it down to one ingredient. And he says it's sugar. However, like how many other like philosophers have come up with other arguing strategies? And there's lots of philosophers that have come up with arguing strategies that say that you cannot have a either or solution. Mm-hmm. There's always multiple solutions, right? And that is a logical fallacy to say that it's this or it's this, unless one of the options is like a hypothesis. So you have a null hypothesis, which says that, for example, in this case, the null hypothesis would be like sugar
is good for you,
or there's no relation to sugar and health. Mm-hmm. And then his alternative hypothesis is that sugar is extremely harmful to your health. So in that sense, you can have one or the other because one leaves room for every possibility ever.
Yeah.
But you can't say like either sugar.
He basically, this book basically boils it down to say that sugar is the sole piece of.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. Like, there's so many other factors.
Well, that was the thing. So I felt like I honestly enjoyed the book. To be completely honest, I actually did.
Yeah, I would say it's interesting. It was just long. And
it was longer than it had to be. The second half was brutal.
Yeah, I don't know if you care about diabetes that much to listen to literally 7 hours of type 2 diabetes information.
Well, and like he basically for the whole second half of the book. So the book is 11 hours on Audible. I don't know how many pages it was. I should have looked that up, but it's a decent sized book. Mm-hmm. The first half of the book is built up of one, the history of sugar, or one, it's his hypothesis. Mm-hmm. Then it's the history of sugar, and then it is kind of the history of diabetes. Mm-hmm. That's the first half. I really thought that was pretty interesting. Mm-hmm. The second half is ultimately the science behind what he believes is causing all of these problems. Mm-hmm. At the same time, him trying to just say, ignore everybody else except for me.
Yeah.
And so like that part, like he'd go on these long, just like this happens and this happens and this happens. And he'd get super, super, super into the weeds. And then at the end he'd say, and then there were other scientists that had different answers, but don't listen to them. And I was like, what is the point of you going so deep into something if you're just going to like completely disregard what anybody else has to say? Mm-hmm. And that's the part that I hated. But so the second half of the book, honestly, was not great. And it was kind of confusing. And I don't really know what his point was. The first half of the book, though, I actually did think it was really interesting. The history of sugar. Sugar is not as old as I thought it was.
I mean, what do you mean by that? Because like cane sugar has been around since humans.
Yeah, but cane sugar was like isolated onto islands until it was brought out.
Like equator area around like the New World.
Yes, but like the majority of people didn't have access to cane sugar at first.
Until like Columbus, essentially.
Not Columbus. No, way, way earlier than Columbus. It was BC that they started doing it. It was like
shipping to like Europe. Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
Do you not catch that part?
So I thought it was like when the trade routes from the New World started circulating back to the Old World that's when they really started ramping up sugar.
Well, that was when they really started ramping up sugar. But so cane sugar was originally in the middle, like equator area.
Right.
And then from what I can remember, they ended up like transplanting cane sugar into different places so they could grow it.
Oh, okay. In like India and stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so India had it, but originally sugar was actually used as a medicine because it made people feel good.
Right.
So there wasn't a whole lot of it, again, because they couldn't refine it yet. But
Have you had unrefined cane sugar?
No.
It's pretty strong.
Really?
Yeah.
But yeah, so they took that and they would use it as medicine. They basically just give people like cane sugar water and say like, it'd be like a prescription. Like, oh, you're not feeling good today? Have some sugar water. And people would be like, gee whiz, I feel like $1 million. Which is the exact same reason why I drink sugar water every single day.
You just feel bad every day.
Yeah, I wake up and I'm like, oh man. And then I drink my sugar water. I'm like, ooh, ready to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was interesting. And then kind of like right around, it was like 50, I don't know. I can't remember exactly when it was, but there was like a period when it then transferred into food for the first time. And it was like,
it was the sweetened tea and coffee.
Well, it's the sweetened tea and coffee, but it was also like, I'm going to get this wrong, but it was either Greeks, Romans, or Egyptians that used it only for royalty for a while in their food. And they would sprinkle sugar on everything.
Yeah.
And they used it almost like salt. And it was like this huge thing.
I don't remember that part. Like as far as like that part specifically, I don't remember that.
Yeah, so that was like, so this whole history to me was like fascinating. Yeah. I like always in my mind just imagined people almost treating sugar like salt in that it was just kind of on everything for a long time. Because not only is sugar a sweetener, but it's also a preservative. Like a lot of people don't realize that, but almost anything that you eat that's not fresh has sugar in it, some form of sugar, even if it's preserved like other ways. Like I was looking now, like after reading this book, I was like, I'm going to go look through my refrigerator. So basically all processed meats, so like pepperoni, salami, like all of that, the preservative in it is sugar. It's a form of sugar. basically anything in your pantry that's meant to last longer than a week has sugar in it. And that's what they use for preservatives. So that's what sugar became for a while in history. It was a preservative and it was a medicine. And then it was a medicine for a long, so it was like a sweetener for
there was
drinks.
that guy in India that used it.
But it was even in
medicine
in America, like even after like the Revolutionary War, it was still used as a medicine. And then I can't remember when that like the flip changed where it basically became in everything, but I want to say it was like late 1600s, 1700s.
Yeah, like when they started putting it in bread.
Yes.
Because that's when they started refining wheat.
Yeah.
Or whenever they started refining wheat was around the same time they started putting it in everything.
Yeah. So it was, and again, some of those dates might be slightly wrong, but it was crazy to see kind of the progression of sugar throughout history of something that is literally so prevalent today. Like it's in everything you eat. I mean, people think like, oh, jams and jellies, like that's my sugar for the day. And you know, no, it is literally in everything you eat.
Yeah. Unless you're like, literally, unless you make your food yourself from scratch, everything, there's sugar in it.
Yeah. That was crazy. And then the progression of sugar from like a sweetener to eating sweet things, like that was really interesting for me as well.
Yeah.
The development
Like cereal.
of cereal, ice cream. The ice cream story was crazy.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I have this in here actually, because the ice cream one got me.
Well, that's what rotted George Washington's teeth.
1851 was the first ice cream. So no.
Dude, I swear.
That's what he said. 1851, first ice cream.
I grew up believing that George Washington liked ice cream.
I don't know. You can look it up. Because, yeah, that one got me. I was like, dude, 1854? That's crazy that was for the first ice cream. And then it wasn't even until way later that they started eating ice cream cones. Also, soda water was like a big thing for a long time. Again, soda water used to be in doctors' offices, and they just give people soda water.
Dude, it says that he had it. So I wonder if that was like
commercially available or like
or like when did they come up with refrigeration?
Yeah, maybe.
Because he did talk about like commercial icing. So they would go like up into like northern lakes and chunk out giant blocks and then bury them so that they could have ice in the summer for ice cream.
Like Elsa. In Frozen.
I've literally never seen Frozen.
Oh, really? The first scene is like a bunch of dudes just chopping ice and hauling them away.
Oh. In a good or bad light?
I think it's good. I think that's what Sven does. Like not Sven. That's whatever the main guy is, the love interest for Anna. He hauls ice. He sells ice.
Cool.
So that's what I thought of when I was reading it. I have little kids. Come on.
All right. Cool, dude. You watched Frozen, huh?
Whatever. But yeah, so that I thought was really interesting. And also just not what I expected at all. I fully expected sugar to be in everything forever. And then the other part that he really dives deep into in the first half is the history of diabetes. So he really goes into kind of when scientists first started diagnosing diabetes, which really wasn't until the late 1800s, really. I mean, there were some cases of diabetes.
Right, but it was like super rare.
And it was like 1 in like 10,000 or something like that. It was crazy.
Did you know how they diagnosed it?
Pee.
But did you know that before, that they would taste the pee?
No, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah, if your pee was like sweet. It meant that your kidneys can't process sugar.
Well,
or can't break down the...
Well, your kidneys don't break it down, but yeah. Like your blood sugar is like super high. Yeah. So you're excreting a whole bunch of sugar.
Yeah. So that apparently wasn't a thing until like the 1800s. And then Yeah, and then it's just basically spiked out of control to where today, I don't know if whoever's listening knows this, but it's 1 in 4 Americans have diabetes, which is crazy.
Is it 1 in 7 have diabetes and 1 in 4 are pre-diabetic?
Yeah, so 1 in 7 have diabetes, 1 in 4 are either pre-diabetic or
metabolic.
obese.
Oh, okay, yeah. Or like metabolic syndrome or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. So it's 1 in 7. 1 in 7. Still insane that that's that many people that have diabetes.
Yeah.
And the majority of it's type 2 diabetes. So it's preventable diabetes. It's not type 1. I mean, there is still a lot of type 1, a lot more than there were back in the day, at least diagnosed.
But he even admits in this book that that's like kind of a separate issue from this.
Yeah. But my question behind all of this, and kind of my question behind most of this health stuff, is what is the point of it all? Right?
Yeah.
Like I know he's like, in the 1800s, it was so rare for somebody to have diabetes. But it also, like, they lived till they were 50. So, like, if we have diabetes and live till we're 80, are we really doing that bad? You know what I mean? Like, what's the purpose of being
hoopla?
of all this hoopla? Like, everybody's living to be too old anyway, in my opinion. Like, how old do you want to live to be?
Genuinely?
Yeah, genuinely.
I want to be old.
You want to be old?
I want to hit like
you want 3 digits?
Well, the year doesn't matter to me. I want to.
It matters to me.
I want to be like cognitive, still able to do generally what I love doing. And the second I start hitting the decline, I want to die quick. So like, being able to go fishing, going and, hanging out with the family, making jokes, like still with it. And then the second I'm like, they're kind of treating you like you're 10 again, like, okay, grandpa, let's go. I just want to go quick. So but like, I would love for that to be in like my 80s, 90s.
Really?
Yeah.
90s?
If I'm still that good, of course.
I have no desire to hit 90.
Why not?
I don't know. I just feel
if you're still that good, you're still that healthy,
I don't know any 90-year-olds that are that healthy.
Russell Nelson.
Yeah, but I don't know. He shuffles.
He's still deep sea fishes.
I don't know. Probably
he's still super smart.
Probably with a lot of help. The brain is not the one that gets me, dude. I don't mind being a little. I wouldn't mind dying if I was still with it up here. It's my body. If I can't physically do the things that I want to do, I'm done. Which to me is like mid 80s, low 80s. You know what I mean? Like, that's a good life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You probably, like, I'd love to see, grandkids, maybe great grandkids. And after that, peace out, dude. I'm out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like,
I guess. But anyway, back to your question. I think what a lot of these like podcasters and nutritionists and all that stuff, they're really obsessed with like, what is the perfect scenario rather than like, what's everyone's goal?
Yeah.
Like my goal, I want to enjoy my life, generally feel healthy, be able to do the things that I love to do or whatever. And then like live until I yeah.
I mean, here.
But other than that, it's like, I don't care to, not eat sugar if I'm still going to reach that goal.
Here's a question though. You can either live till you're 85 or 95, like you want. With it, still going fishing.
95.
No. At 85, you get to drink Dr. Pepper from now until 85. From now until 95, no Dr. Pepper. No.
Well, is that the way I want to live though?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, is that worth it to you? Because that's what this book kind of makes me feel like. Like,
well, again,
I'm gonna.
The number doesn't mean anything. I want to do what I'm going to do for as long as possible.
But what I'm saying is it worth it for you to like change what you want to do in order
just to hit a bigger number?
Just to hit the bigger number. Like you wouldn't cut out Dr. Pepper even if you knew it would guarantee you 10 years.
I mean, like, I don't drink a ton of Dr. Pepper.
I know you don't drink a ton of Dr. Pepper. You probably have what, 1, maybe 2 a week. Maybe. When you go out to eat.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like.
But you enjoy it, right? Like it does make you happy.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to just
to hit 95? No. Yeah. Because again, then I'm not living the way that I want to live or that I enjoy to live for all of those years. I want to live that like the way that it makes me happy for as long as possible.
Yeah.
That's my goal.
So what do you say to like a heroin addict? It's the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care if I lived on 35, but if I'm having a ballin' time till I get there, that's awesome, man. Rock on.
Yeah.
Like,
but
you know what I mean? Like, what is, I don't know. That's what I struggle with all this healthy eating stuff. Like, I just don't get it. Like, if someone really wants to do that, as long as you're not harming someone, and I get the heroin thing, because like there's the argument that it does
predatory,
that it does harm people. Like I do get that.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I honestly don't give a rat's what people do. Like if you want to live your life, I love the saying, you know, I'm here for a good time, not a long time. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and I get that because I'm not cutting soda. Like, I know
you should cut down on it. Maybe not cut it all the way out.
That I have family members that listen to this that are worried about that my blood thickens up in my body and doesn't flow properly with the amount of soda that I drink. I'm not cut. I mean, I should probably cut it back, and I have. Like I said, I'm down to 1 a day outside of eating out. Yeah, but I just like, dude, it's not worth it. Like I want to live my life. And again, my life, the other flip side of the equation though is like, I want to live my life and food is only one portion of my life. Food shouldn't be 100% of your life. So like if I can't do jujitsu, I can't keep up with my kids, I can't go outside and do what I want to do.
You're spending tons of money on treatment.
Yes, tons of money on treatment. I can't afford the lifestyle that I'm living, or you know, I can't realistically accomplish any sort of health goals. Like I can still, like I could train for a month and go run a marathon easy. You know what I mean? Like
do it. I listened to the last one. I know you don't like running
more than anything, but I'm saying like physically, I could. Yeah. You know, I'm not insanely overweight to where like that would be something unimaginable. You know what I mean? Like I could imagine myself doing it. Actually, I can't imagine myself doing it, but
it's really not that bad. I don't know what your problem with it is.
But so that is the diet aspect that I do think is important. Like food shouldn't be the only purpose for your life, but it shouldn't be like the only thing that you cut either. You don't.
Well, then it's just the same thing.
Yeah.
Your purpose then is to eat healthy, and it consumes all of your thoughts.
Yeah.
You know, every birthday party you go to, you're not gonna.
It's just as miserable
as being bump
obese.
On a log.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In my opinion, like it's just as miserable.
Oh yeah. I wouldn't say it's just as miserable,
but
it
more
is
miserable.
No.
Could you imagine cutting sugar?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've done it before. I've gone a whole year without sugar.
No, you haven't.
Yes, I have.
No.
I mean, not like...
No, you haven't.
No treats. No nothing. No soda. No juice. No candy. No brownies, cookies. None of that. I'm dead serious.
All right.
I did that my senior year.
For everybody listening to the podcast who doesn't know Adam.
Dude, I'm telling you my senior year.
No. For everybody listening to the podcast that doesn't know you, tell everybody what your glove compartment in your car looked like for probably, I don't know, 5 years until your wife probably kicked you in the rear end and was like, you can't live like this. What did it look like? Just paint a picture. Paint a picture. Any given Tuesday, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you'd open it up. What was in there?
What I wanted.
So like a tire pressure gauge, the owner's manual to your car.
Yeah. That's essentials.
No, neither of those.
Jolly Ranchers, lollipops, Starburst, Skittles. But here's the thing.
How many lollipops did you eat a day?
Brandon with soda was me with candy.
Every time I saw you, you had a stick in your mouth.
Yeah. Okay. But here's the thing. Okay. And I'll get into this. This is a little, history of my life. We get this from our mother. Our mother has a sweet tooth. And we found out it was genetic in the book. So my sophomore year, grandma definitely started with it. Yeah. She doesn't have real teeth.
Our mother did not start the trend. Our grandmother literally, was it? When was this?
2 pastries and an orange.
Yeah, but when was that? My mom was in what?
When she married Happy.
No. My mom was in high school when she went to the doctor or something. Was it high school or college when she went to the doctor with our grandma?
Oh yeah, college or something.
College. So it was like later in life. My grandma goes.
Is this a HIPAA violation?
I don't know.
I'm just kidding. My grandma listen to podcasts?
No, I don't even think Mima knows what a podcast is. She still tells me all the time every time I talk on the phone with her. I love Mimi to death. She always tells me, I like your pictures more than once on Instagram. Which means that she's just liking it, unliking it, liking it, and then unliking it, and then it never shows that she likes anything. That's because she says that she likes it more than once. She's the greatest thing on the planet. Yeah. But yeah, she went to the doctor, and the doctor was like, "Oh, you're looking, decently healthy and whatnot. Like, what do you eat for breakfast?" And my grandma deadpan looked him in the eyes and said, 2 pastries and orange juice.
And an orange.
2 pastries and an orange.
Yeah.
That's what she used to say. And the doctor was like, "Oh, that's pretty good. Like, yeah, you're doing fine." And my mom looks at her and it's like, "You eat 2 cookies and a Sunkist soda for breakfast." That is my grandma for as long as I've ever been alive.
She's old.
Every morning, and she's in her 80s. In her 80s. I mean, so she's surpassed the average in the United States. Every morning, as long as I've ever known her, for 30 years. 2 cookies, little Chips Ahoy cookies. And a Sunkist soda every single morning.
Yep. So we have those genes. So starting my sophomore year in high school, I started acquiring my own sugar rather than just stealing it from my mom. So my locker in high school, around Halloween time, from Halloween to Christmas, I don't know even if I had textbooks, but I would literally just have a trash bag full of Halloween candy in my locker, and I would just go in there for candy. My backpack was just candy and loose papers. So from then on, that was how it was. My junior year, I would run at cross-country practice and fill my pockets full of candy so that I could eat candy while I was running.
Yeah, you'd have
Suckers, Jolly Ranchers. Yeah. So then my senior year, I decided, I was like, okay, I'm giving it up for skiing, specifically skiing. So I gave it up from that summer. It wasn't a full calendar year, but it was school got out from my junior year, and didn't eat any sugar or candy up until cross-country skiing ended in, was it March? And then...
Or February or something.
Yeah, and then I went and spent $40 on candy at Walmart. And then I went to Japan.
You're just sitting there in your room
oh, dude, just intravenous soda. I'm just having a seizure from missing it so bad. No, but I absolutely cut it out. So I have done it. But then I went to Japan, and I don't know if the sugar is different over there. I swear it is, but nothing is as sweet as it is in America. So then mom would send me a package of candy for, I got there in October and I got a Christmas package just full of candy. And I just like annihilated the Starburst one night between me and my companion, and it wrecked me just on the toilet all night long. So, but anyways, yeah, so since my mission, and then I came home and got my teeth cleaned and whitened. And now I have like a sensitivity to sugar in my mouth. I can't like chew it as much. So I have to do hard candies.
I was going to say the car was post teeth.
Yeah,
whitening.
so that's the Jolly Ranchers and the Suckers. Okay. So I tried to do Starburst and Skittles because those are my favorite. Not so much anymore. But yeah, dude, I can't even. Like, I used to eat Skittles by the handful.
Oh no, I remember.
Like those giant gallon bags.
And you just.
Yeah, so my backpack, if you know what I'm talking about, you get them at like Walmart or Costco. I would have one of those of Skittles, Sour Patch Kids, Starburst, and the Blow Pops, Jolly Ranchers, and caramel apple lollipops. So my backpack was full. It's just not with homework and books. Oh my God. So then I came home, glove compartment, Jolly Ranchers. Now I can't, like, Red 40 jacks up my stomach super bad, so I can't really have red candy. So I still do lollipops, but it's mostly like Dum Dums because it's small, so I can just that's pretty guilt free, honestly.
I did you know that I cut out soda for I think 2 or 3 years?
While you're skating? Mm-hmm. What did you drink? Because you don't drink water.
Orange juice. I basically drank orange juice.
Which is
it's
still
just
bad.
as bad. It's just as bad. I know. But I didn't have soda for years.
Yeah. And the first time you had it, didn't taste good, did it?
Oh, dude. The first time I had it, it was like freaking, again, it was like taking a hit.
See, I hate when I quit and then I came back to it, I could taste the CO2.
Oh, so good.
No, it
feels so good when it touches your lips.
Yes. Does it give you hiccups?
No.
If I drink soda, my first sip always gives me a hiccup.
Really?
Yeah. It's pretty weird. But anyways, yeah, so I could taste the CO2, so I hated it. And then I through enough hanging out with the boys and playing dew pong. I drank enough Mountain Dew. I got used to it again.
Yeah,
and thank goodness I did.
I've tried all sorts of alternatives. I tried like the Soda Fizz machine. Like I bought one of those.
Those are terrible.
Yeah, and tried to do that mixed with something similar to those True Lemons and stuff like that. Like they just don't. I don't know. I hate that. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I just want a nice soda. So
yeah.
But yeah, I mean that was off on a tangent for a while. But ultimately, what that came down to was, I just don't think it's worth giving up. And that was his solution to the whole thing. It's like
I think it's worth marking down, or not marking down, but taking less of it because it obviously has negative health effects.
Yes, but what are the negative health effects? So it obviously is not good for you. Like it's absurdly addictive. There's definitely a correlation between sugar and obesity. The more sugar you eat, the more likely you are to be obese. 100%.
I would say.
And there's also genetics.
I would say it's strong enough to be a causation.
I don't know. I mean, maybe. But that's the one thing that I hate about all nutrition science is in any other science, what you do to perform any other experiment, it's the scientific method. You come up with a hypothesis, and then what you do is you isolate variables in order to prove your hypothesis. It is impossible to isolate variables in nutrition because no two people are the exact same. And then also no one person
eats the same stuff.
You know what I mean? So it's impossible for you to eats the same stuff, burns the same amount of calories, has the exact same amount of activity. You know what I mean? Like there's just so many factors. Your health isn't the exact same every single time. Like, you know, the functioning of your kidneys, your stomach, it's like constantly changing. Your gut biome, like everything. If you were to try to set it up perfect, you could not have an experiment and then replicate that experiment identically.
You could. It would just be really unethical because you could do it with twins.
I don't even think twins are that identical, are they?
At a young age, yeah. They are.
But even then, like activity, you couldn't have twins do the exact, you couldn't have them burn the same exact.
That would be close enough.
It would be close, but
that's why I say you need to look at the biochemistry.
That's the thing with nutrition, though. It's like all you can ever get is like kind of close to science. And that's what drives me nuts with like this whole book was like constantly trying to make scientific judgments on things with 80 million different variables. So he like is constantly drawing conclusions to the facts that he wants to see. You know, sugar causes diabetes, causes, you know, bad lifestyle causes death. You know, that was what he wanted to see throughout the entire book. And so anywhere that he could possibly see it, he would just extrapolate and pull the data and then make the data say that, when there's so many other factors. Like the biggest glaring example to me was right at the very beginning of the book when he talks about, you know, the rise in sugar leading directly and correlating directly with the rise in diabetes cases diagnosed throughout the world. First of all, like that's dumb right there, because diagnosing diseases has evolved over time too. So like the increase in diagnosis of diabetes also could be affected through the increase in technology, the increase in the amount of doctors, you know what I mean? The increase in awareness of diabetes in general. You know what I mean? They could have just gone undiagnosed for all these years. Like you just never know. Also the increase in age. So as people get older, people are more likely to develop diabetes anyway. Like there's so many variables. And then at one point he talks about the sugar shortage during World War II. And he's like, there was a sugar shortage. So everybody cut sugar in their manufacturing. And diabetes, the percentage of people who died from diabetes during the years of World War II decreased. And then went right back up after World War II once sugar was added into everything. And it's like, I don't know, could you possibly think of another reason that the percentage of deaths around the world decreased from diabetes? I don't know. Maybe it was like the carpet bombing, the machine guns, the gas chamber. I don't like the millions and millions of people, tens of millions of people that died more, like bringing down the national or the world average of diabetes deaths. Like, and that's what's so hard about nutrition. It's like you could find it like, oh, the more sugar, more diabetes deaths. And like you look at the data and you can see it, but there's so many other factors that go into just general health that it's funny baloney science. You know what I mean? And that's why like sugar industry's been able to get away with it for so long.
Yeah. I would still say though that it's clear that it's not good for you, and that it's clear that it can cause diabetes and obesity.
100%.
The biochemistry, again, if you do the math, the biochemistry shows that is clear.
I would agree with that. I agree with that statement.
But he
takes it a whole step
that was what was annoying to me. So he quotes a bunch of different studies and things in it. And one of the studies that he talks about was from a pediatrician in Southern California who works with young diabetics. And I've actually listened to 2 of his lectures on sugar, and 3/4 of his lecture is on the biochemistry of high fructose corn syrup. So like, how is it metabolized? Where is it metabolized? What reactions, like, I mean, they're biochemical reactions. So it's a lot of like OChem kind of stuff. Like where that happens in the body, why that happens, and then what happens from there. Right. So, and I wrote a paper on non-alcoholic fatty liver disease with sugar. So like there's a lot of biochemistry. Obviously, like high fructose corn syrup has a fructose molecule and a glucose molecule. And then like modern high fructose corn syrup has like, I want to say it's like 55% fructose and 45% glucose. So your body preferentially uses glucose in the body. That's like the first thing. That a lot of people are lactose intolerant. So if you, for instance, eat cereal, there's glucose, there's fructose, and there's lactose in that meal that you're eating. And the lactose is like latter end, like your lac operon is what it's called, like the gene in your body that's going to trigger releasing lactase, which is the enzyme that breaks down lactose. It's just not going to happen because it's using the glucose and the fructose and all of that stuff. And so it gets converted into like gases, essentially. Mm-hmm. So that's why you get gassy when you eat cereal specifically. Anyway, the reason why fructose is so bad is because the way that it's broken down it can't get broken down in the stomach because the enzymes in the stomach can't break it down. So it's not one of the preferential molecules. So anything that can't get broken down in the stomach gets broken down in the liver. And your liver kind of breaks down everything that's like a toxin or anything that's difficult, right? So alcohols get broken down in the liver. So fatty liver disease was traditionally thought to be like a disease of like alcohol, mm-hmm. right? Fructose gets processed the exact same mechanism as alcohol. Mm. So the big problem with it is that you have little kids or all of us constantly eating sugar. It's doing the same exact damage to your liver as alcohol does. The only difference between the alcohol and the fructose is that there is no side product that passes through that blood-brain barrier that then gets you drunk. Mm. So it's all the negative effects other than peeing your pants and acting like a dork. It's all the same negative health effects of alcohol without the buzz or whatever. Mm. So like you can look at the biochemistry and talk about, okay, this is dangerous, this is bad. But also, you know, like humans have been drinking alcohol for forever. We've been eating sugar for a long time. Your liver is the coolest organ you have in your entire body. You can trust your liver to break down most things. And as long as it has enough time to regenerate, there is a certain amount of sugar that you can take that your body, generally speaking, for most people, generally speaking, your liver can handle it and you'll be okay. Yeah. The other thing is, you know, it breaks it down in such a way that like when glucose gets broken down, it goes through a bunch of different processes, right? Basically, when fructose gets broken down or sucrose, it skips a bunch of those steps and it floods your body full of the last final bit. And because it skipped over a bunch of regulatory periods, it, like the reason why he says it's like fat making, right? It's like a lipo, I forget the word he uses. It's like lipo something. Anyway, it's really good at making fat because it gives you an unordinary amount of final products that can't be used. Mm. It's like dumping a whole gallon of milk into a glass jar or like into a cup. Mm-hmm. Like if you were to pour it, drink it, pour it, drink it, pour it, drink it, over time you could handle it. But by dumping the whole thing in there, it all spills over. So then all of that excess gets put into fat. Mm. So you get fatter eating sugar than you would eating other foods because of the biochemistry, right? Mm. It's processed a little bit different. So
see, that makes sense.
He didn't talk about that though. It bothered me the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't talk about that at all. Yeah, because that was really interesting. Instead, again, he uses like weird science. You know what I mean? Like basically like correlation to prove
right It's a lot of like
correlation
long
doesn't-
steps. Yeah.
Yeah.
And correlation does not equal causation.
Yeah, and that's all he did was like try to find correlating studies. Like these people, like he did a lot with Native Americans and Alaska natives and islanders, and it was just like, oh, you could see a correlation to when sugar was introduced to when they got diabetes. You know what I mean? And that was like it. But he didn't also say like, oh, they also got, you know,
hands on cigarettes. They also were exposed to phthalates and probably lived more sedentary lives, were more they got exposed to other air and water pollutants and other diseases. And it's just like there's so many other things that you could talk about.
They got freaking snow machines all of a sudden now. They don't have to hike. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, you know, like, way more sedentary. Also going to have a major effect on your overall health. So, and that's what he does throughout the entire story. He just takes little examples of small indigenous groups of people that are introduced and goes over them over and over and over and over again. It drove me absolutely nuts. So that was the part of the book did not like. One of the things, probably the most interesting part of the book to me, was the sugar industry's fight against sugar being labeled bad.
Very similar to pharmaceutical companies.
Very similar to pharmaceutical companies, to tobacco companies, to basically anybody
who's been attacked for health reasons.
And obviously their goal is to not go under and sell more of their products. So they have a financial incentive into this whole race. But it was very interesting to see and to like hear about cases that basically shifted blame and did a very good job of shifting blame. Because again, nutrition is impossible to really like dial down easy for people to understand. So instead they just use these correlation studies. And then they say, oh, this person ate this and got sick. We had 10 people who ate this and 7 of them got sick. And it's like, well, they also all were, you know, smokers and all these other things. And so because of that, it's an easy data to fudge. And so like the history of the big sugar industry basically paying to demonize red meat, paying to demonize salt, paying to demonize fat, you know, like paying to demonize butter and, you know, like high fatty, like naturally fatty foods. And that was really interesting because it has a lot of like long-term effects. Like even to this day,
I'm still taught LDL is bad.
Oh, LDL is huge. But even I was talking to Olivia and she has a really hard time eating red meat and butter, like in general, those two things. And she's like, it just has been drilled into me. And it's just now becoming to the point where she's like, she'll suggest that we have red meat twice a week. Before it was like, we can only ever have it one time a week because it's not good for you. It's like, dude, like it's crazy the lasting effects that the sugar industry has had on the way people think about food and the way people, one, demonize healthy food and then completely just right over your head of non-healthy food. So pasta, for instance, loaded with refined flour, loaded with sugar. And
if you make your own pasta, it's not bad for you, in my opinion.
I mean, you still have like the refined flours. Refined.
You can get healthy forms of flour though.
You can get healthier forms of flour. And if you make your own sauces, yes, it's easy. But for most people who will pick up, I mean, even
right, just going and grabbing like the spaghetti ingredients from the center aisles
even
in the grocery store.
Canned tomatoes.
Yeah, it's all got sugar in it.
Chock full of sugar.
Yeah.
So like unless you're pureeing and pressing your own tomatoes and you're adding your own spices and things like that, yes, you can do a healthier form of pasta. But I would be interested to know which one's healthier, even homemade pasta or like a steak.
Well, apples and oranges, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, one of the things that I've noticed with like listening to podcasts is like there are people who are really into these intense diets. Like right now, the carnivore diet is like everything, right?
Everybody loves it.
Yeah. Dude,
It can't be healthy.
I mean, like, and even like, I just don't understand. It's like, what do you mean? Like, I can't eat fruit and vegetables and rice? Like, literally all the healthiest populations around the world eat rice. All of them. White rice.
Yeah, white rice is actually healthier than you.
Yeah, because that coating has a bunch of junk in it.
Because brown rice is really hard to digest, and
Yeah.
most of the brown rice that you eat doesn't get turned into energy. So it's a lot like corn.
Interesting.
It's a lot
Yeah.
like corn.
Yeah.
So corn, although is like non-processed corn, it's not going to be turned into
Maize,
to like actual sugar. You know what I mean? Like
Oh, I get
corn,
what you mean. Never
corn,
mind. Yeah.
corn can essentially be turned into like a sugar, but just like non-processed whole kernel corn almost has no nutritional value because your body has a very hard time digesting it. Brown rice is very similar to that from what I understand, but in addition, it's got like coatings on it
Right.
that like are really not great for you either. And a lot of times the brown rice is not brown naturally.
Oh, it's like sprayed.
Yeah.
Cool.
So like, it's like there's all sorts of things that like, again, this is what I thought was interesting about the book. If you're somebody who, looks at the food pyramid and is like, okay, grain at the very bottom, rice is
the food
pastas and
crazy.
then, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but that was drilled into you and I mean, essentially was put forward by the same people that did all of the sugar lobbying and propaganda and everything like that. And that's exactly what it was. It was propaganda. It was ways to get people to eat sugar. And it wasn't even by and the interesting thing is that it wasn't by convincing people that sugar was healthy. It was just finding an enemy.
Yeah, it was making everything else seem unhealthy.
It was making, yeah. And so it was like sugar, you just don't even think about it. And again, Olivia has that same exact mentality. It's not that she's like, okay, let's eat, like heavy pasta sauces and, because they're healthy. It's let's not eat red meat, fat, and everything because it isn't healthy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you're naturally like, all right, well then we'll eat what we can. And all of that stuff is just not healthy either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's like, it was an interesting way of doing it. It's not like they tried to convince everybody sugar's not actually bad for you.
Yeah.
They tried to find enemies and play the hate game, which obviously works because that's what everybody does today on everything else in the entire world.
Exactly.
Hate is a million times stronger
theoretically
than,
I wouldn't even say theoretically at first.
For sure. It's a much more instantaneous emotion, which is what they used to get people to hate red meats, hate, dairies, hate fats, hate all of those things. And those then became evil. And then sugar just was like, well, you forgot about us.
Yeah. It's crazy to me also that he doesn't talk about like except hardly at all. He doesn't really talk so much about the argument of like hormones and their role in diet as well, because my professional opinion, if anybody cared for my opinion as far as diet goes, which I will say, I did have a professor say this, and it actually does make sense. I know more than most about these certain topics.
Yeah.
That's not saying that I know more than people who have PhDs.
Yeah.
But that over the general public, I have studied biochemistry multiple times, right?
Yeah.
And diet and physiology and all that stuff. I just think that like we're nutrient deficient, that we're sedentary, and if you were to just eat more whole foods, what that means is just like if you can point it out and say, I know what that is, and eat it, it's probably good for you.
Yeah.
Generally speaking.
That's a chicken.
Yes.
That's a bell pepper.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a tomato.
Yes. Eat a variety of whole foods and then just cut down on refined and processed foods. You'll feel so much better. Mm-hmm. And honestly, it's like, make sure you're getting vitamins, minerals. You can get a lot of that from your diet. It's better to get that from your diet than from supplements, actually. But if you can't, then it is important to supplement. But then, yeah, I genuinely think that the nutrient deficiency is like what drives that hormonal issue that's causing a lot of these issues. Yeah. So I'm not going to give the silver bullet and say that, no, it's not sugar, it's nutrient deficiency or whatever. But I think it's multifactorial. And a big one that he doesn't talk about that I think is important is how nutrients affect your endocrine system, and then how that in turn makes you more vulnerable to things like sugar, things like refined pastas and stuff like that.
Well, and like hormones obviously play a role. I mean, there's a big difference between the way that men and women like gain weight, and that has to do with sugar. I mean, there's a big difference between how women and pregnant women gain weight. Yep. You know what I mean? And all of the biggest difference in those is going to be hormones. Like hormones definitely affect the way that you process sugar. And again, this just ties right back into what I said. He just was looking for.
Well, it is the case against sugar. So he's loading up everything he can possibly think of that attacks sugar.
Yeah.
Right. To give him a little bit of slack. That was his purpose in this.
Yeah, but I get that that's his purpose. But he could go up and he could, state his whole purpose of the book. And then at the very end, when he's wrapping up his book, he could be like, okay, so sugar's obviously bad for you. But as you can see, there are lots of other lifestyle choices that go along with it. If you want to live the healthiest lifestyle that you can, you need to take a holistic look at things. And sugar should play a factor in your holistic look at how to be healthier.
Right.
Instead,
I would agree with that. Yeah.
He
says sugar is just as bad as cigarettes.
He literally wraps up this whole book and he says, all right, guys, sugar's a drug. People can't get off of it. It's more addicting than nicotine. The best thing that you can do when raising your family, he even says this, like even with small kids, is to never give them sugar. He's like, would you give your kids cigarettes and then say, you should stop doing this? He's like, no, you want to have your kids avoid ever smoking cigarettes so that they never have the urge or the desire to keep smoking. Nobody wants to smoke until they've smoked. And he says the same is true for sugar. I was like, geez, dude. Like, your answer to this whole thing is never give your kids sugar, ever.
I mean, did you not expect that when you started the book?
No, again, I expected a rational, reasonable answer at the end. Which is take a holistic look at your life, factor in your sugar consumption, and maybe look at ways to get rid of refined sugars and added sugars. Right? Like that would have been a good way to do it. And just say like, these things are really not good for you. As you can tell, it leads to X, Y, and Z. If you want to avoid X, Y, and Z in your life, one great way to do that would be, again, to take that out of your life and then look at what you can add. And it wasn't. You know what I mean? Like, it's so unrealistic to tell somebody to cut 100% of sugar out of your life for your whole life, for the rest of your life. Never join in at a birthday party again. Never, take part in Christmas celebrations.
See, that's the thing that drives me nuts about like the podcasters that are all about this carnivore diet. Yeah. I still talk specifically. I listened to a recent episode. I literally had to turn it off. I listened to Joe Rogan talk about how he was eating sushi and it made him feel like crap because he was eating rice. And I was like, bro, you were probably plastered on sake. Like, you can't tell me that rice makes you feel poopy when you drink alcohol and smoke cigars and weed all the time.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's going to make you feel bad.
Yeah.
Alcohol, again, processed the exact same way as sugar. So it's like, dude, if I want to have, pie on Thanksgiving, if I want to have a soda when I go out to eat, it's like my liver can handle that. It's like, really, when it gets dangerous is like when you're having it a lot throughout the day. For example, okay, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and cystic fibrosis, both of those, specifically cystic fibrosis, right? It's that your liver cannot recover. And so it develops like a scarring all throughout the liver. It takes a really, really, really long time for your liver to heal from that. So if you're constantly dumping sugar in, it's really hard on your liver. Your liver can't keep up and it hurts it. And then your liver is super essential in a whole bunch of other things, regulating hormones, making sure that you are processing other food. A lot of people saying like, oh, my gut biome and stuff. Like, yeah, the gut biome is important, but I would guarantee that you also have liver issues as well. Like literally, maybe not, but sometimes I think that your liver is more important than your brain when it comes to physiology. So it's like you've got fatty liver or you've got scarring of the liver, cystic fibrosis, and you can't keep up with it. That's when that's when it starts getting dangerous. But if you don't get to that point, if your liver can recover it, your liver is handling it well, then let your liver work, man.
Yeah.
All things in moderation kind of thing.
Yeah. And that's the other thing that he briefly glances over is that he does say that people have sensitivities to certain things and people's bodies operate differently. So some people can have, again, like our grandma can have sugar every single morning and all day of every day. And she's 80 something years old and works perfect, lives perfectly fine. She's not obese. She's like this big around and about this tall.
I mean, I would bet if you were to look at her liver, something's seriously wrong with it. But on the outside,
I was about to say, but to what detriment then at that point? Like if your liver's not fine, you're 85 years old, you're living your life.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, is it really that big of a deal? Whereas like some other people,
But also, well, I guess that could be goals then as well. But if you were to take somebody like Mimi and try and put her on a physical regimen that you and I would want to have, it would be completely unattainable. The way that her liver functions at the moment. Right. And that's not just because of the sun-kissed and cookie. There's other things, right?
Yeah.
So if you're wanting to function at a higher, say, physical level or even mental health level, right? Those things, like you're going to have to cut that back a little bit to make that possible. But to say that, again, cut it all out.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like I just don't, I agree with you. I don't think it's realistic, but I also just don't see the point.
Yeah. It's like,
you
it's like the whole thing of like, I don't know, this is a little bit of a tangent, but it's like retirement. You know what I mean? Like you're saving all of your money up and you're working so hard. Like if you work 90 hours a week, I mean, I think, a normal work week, it's fine or whatever. And you should be saving for your retirement. But if you spend all of your time working so that one day you can be happy, like it's just dumb. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
enjoy it's not going to be there. Yeah.
Enjoy the time that you have. Well, and you're going to be old. Like you're going to be 60, 70 years old. If you're not enjoying life and you're not enjoying food, you're not enjoying time with your friends, you're not being invited to things because people think it's weird that you come and you bring your own, your own meal and your own food, and they don't like eating out with you because you won't go to the places that they want to go out to and things like that. And you do that, until you're 60 so that you can live till you're 80. You know what I mean? Like, well, that's dumb.
I guess if that's what you want to do,
you're wasting 60 years of having a good time when, again, you could do it in moderation. You could still be, you could still be enjoying your life. You could still be eating those things that you want to eat. You just don't have to make it at a detriment to your health. So you have to just be, I guess, introspective a little bit. You know what I mean? Like you have to be able to have some sort of personal reflection to say, honestly, and I don't know if this is going to be good, but like, am I fat? And does this fat prohibit me from doing the things that I want to do?
What are your health goals?
Yeah. What are your health goals? What are your life goals? What do you want to do with your life? And not like, oh, what can I do with my life? Like, no, what do you actually want to do? You know, like a fat person may be like, well, you know, I'll never, you know, hike that mountain or whatever. You know what I mean? And I don't like that because they're placing a limitation on what they would do if they were healthy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But if they actually wanted to hike that mountain, then they shouldn't be fat. You know what I mean? Like, don't like do the things to cut that out of your life. But if you can do all the things you want to do, and you can legitimately, with some sort of personal reflection, say anything that I want to do right now, I could do physically. Keep living your life, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, have that piece of cake. You know what I mean? Like, but the moment that it starts to become a hindrance to you on what you want to do, or who you want to be, then that's the line.
Yeah.
But the line should not be never start.
And with that too, like I want to add that, like, it's not just do you breathe heavy when you walk up the hill. Like, there are mental health aspects to that as well, because I think that a lot of people, like, that's more realistic to them, that they just want to be happy. Like, you will have your own sources of dopamine by being healthy. You know, release endorphins by exercising. You know, the community that you get in, say, jujitsu or whatever it is, like the mental health aspect of it is super important too. Not just like, can you not hike the mountain? Right. Yeah. So like there's it again, multifactorial. There's multiple things that kind of build into you needing to be healthy and why you should want to be healthy. But then I 100% agree. Like, if you are right there, like I would say myself, I'm not like a freak athlete, right? I would say I'm generally healthy. And I get to do basically whatever I want to do. I can do jujitsu. I can go hike for, you know, miles or whatever. That's what I like to do. I'm happy.
I can also play video games anytime I want. You know what I mean?
Like, yeah. But
like I can do the
what
things,
I'm saying is, like,
I can do both sides.
Yeah. I'm able to do all of those things, and I'm still enjoying occasional sugar. I'm still enjoying, you know, other foods. Like, I love fried chicken or whatever. You know, it's like, because I do it in moderation, like, I'm still able to achieve all of my health goals. I'm achieving my life goals, and I can just be like a normal person, you know?
Yeah.
And have fun with eating. It's awesome.
Yeah. But I will caveat this whole thing and say, if you're one of those psychopaths who are happier if you just cut sugar out completely, all power to you, dude.
Yeah, just do it.
You know what I mean? Like, again, that's the lifestyle
like a vegan,
you want to leave.
don't rub it, like, don't shove it in my face.
Just don't be the person who says that everybody has to do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the part that I didn't like about the book. Like, that was his solution, is like all or nothing. You know what I mean? Like, you're either going to get diabetes and be fat and die and get cancer, and or you can just cut sugar out 100% of your life and never, ever, ever let your kids taste a lick of sugar. It's like, dude, that's just so dumb. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to live that lifestyle, all power to you, dude.
Yeah.
Have fun, never being invited to somebody's birthday party.
Yeah.
But just don't tell people that that's the solution, because that's just that's a stupid solution. That's a stupid solution. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that was my opinion of this book. But there were, like I said, the history part of it, I really actually enjoyed. And that was probably the first 4.5 hours of the book. Really liked that. The part about the way that the country and everybody pretty much in the world demonized other foods instead of sugar. Really found that interesting. The rest of it, I kind of think that the guy who wrote it's a quack. Yeah. And again, I would probably say that about anybody who writes a book, a single solution book. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I'd say the same thing about like anybody who's like carnivore diet or nothing. Anybody who talks to me about veganism, I'm like, deuces, dude, you're insane. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that there's a one solution for anybody because there's so many factors and people are so different. Everybody's different.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think that one really important thing that he brings up in it is the seriousness of diabetes, though.
Yeah.
Like, I went to a suture clinic, practicing for like suturing. And the guy that was teaching it is a podiatrist. So he's like a foot guy, only feet guy. But anyway, he said that like 90% of his job is limb salvage on diabetics.
Ugh.
So just like amputating
Pieces.
and that's just the feet. That's not like hands and
Yeah, see, that's sad.
yeah. And he's literally, I mean, he was telling us stories of like people would show up. This is like every day. He has ops like three days a week. And he walks in there and he has an emergency appointment with a guy who like, I mean, just, I won't even get into it, but he talks a lot about gout and gangrene in the book. So that whole thing going on, they didn't even put the guy on anesthetic they didn't put him to sleep or numb him or anything because he couldn't feel them amputating his leg. Yeah.
That's disgusting.
So, but again, 1 in 7 diabetics. You have a lot of people who have metabolic syndrome, pre-diabetic, obese. Like that, I think, is important. Acknowledging the importance of diet, taking control of what you consume is really important. But again, this is you can't just give the one answer.
But also, you take somebody who is diabetic, say they're 300 pounds, they've been diabetic for like 6 years.
I think for them, cutting sugar would be a good thing.
No. Okay, I'm not even saying that. I think it would
No.
be. But you take somebody like that, rides around on a scooter in Walmart, whatever, and you say, hey, the solution to this lifestyle is to just cut sugar out completely. Dude, that's too much. You know what I mean? Like that's you know what I mean? Like that's dumb. Like it's unattainable for somebody who is in that situation to be like, you know what? I just read this book. I'm going to turn my life the heck around.
Yeah.
I'm done with sugar. You know what I mean? Like that's just it's not attainable. You know what I mean? Like you can educate people, you can show them the causation and everything like that. But at the end of the day, it's got to be something that's actually doable.
Cut as much as you can.
Yeah.
And then start exercising.
Yeah.
Start eating healthier foods. And then just like little by little, you will get better. That's more attainable than saying cut it all out.
Yeah.
You are eating broccoli forever now. You are a rabbit.
Just imagine The Office with Kevin. Have you seen the episode where he eats the broccoli and he eats it stem first because he doesn't even know how to eat broccoli?
Oh my God.
I don't want to do it.
So funny.
But yeah, that's what I don't get. But I do agree. Diabetes it's a problem. It's not only a problem for the people that have diabetes, it's a problem. I mean,
it's a huge stress on our medical system
our
and
medical
the insurance companies.
Everything. Like, yeah, I mean, people are like, yeah, why don't we have universal health care? It's because 1 in 7 people have diabetes. It's because like we literally can't afford to pay for
and it just
everybody.
Those poor people, and we know people.
Yeah.
Those poor people that have type 1.
Yeah.
And now have to pay so much money for their insulin.
Yeah. I mean, and the poor people that have type 2. I mean, I've seen a lot of people with type 2 that, I mean, it is not fun. Like you're now in a place that like it's significantly harder to live your life.
Yeah.
But again, this is where you can't write a book and just tell somebody like, hey, you've never, ever, ever, ever hiked before. You know how you should get into hiking? Everest. Go for it. Dude.
Yeah, true.
Send it. Send it, bro. You know what I mean? Like it's just like it's not realistic. It's not. You got to get people to that level. And so like a book like this is almost too much. You know what I mean? If I was 350 pounds, I read this book, I'd be like, F that. Kill me at 7. It kill me at 65. Like I'm just not, I'm not doing that. I'm not cutting that out of my life.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. That was the part of the book that bugged me the most. Like obviously it's not good for you. I'm not advocating that sugar's good for you.
Right.
But I'm not, again, it's not the end all be all of health. There's so many other things that contribute to health.
Exactly.
So. All right. So to wrap this up, what would you say you would rank this book on a scale of scale of 0 to 5 for fun and 0 to 5 for importance?
I would say fun wise, a 2 or 2.5. I would give it that because certain aspects of the book are definitely not very interesting, and I don't want to give it too harsh of a score because I feel like I knew a lot of that because like I looked all of that stuff up. I watched all that before. I think it is interesting. Mm-hmm. It's just I thought that he would cover more of the stuff that I wanted to learn more about rather than just recapping all the stuff that I'd heard before. Anyway, so yeah, probably 2.5 on fun. And then importance, I would say 3.5. Okay. Because I think he brings up a lot of really important points, but I don't think the argument against sugar, again, is the end-all, be-all answer. But understanding the arguments against it, I think is important. So yeah. I would say it's more than halfway important kind of thing.
Yeah. So I'd give it a 2.5 as fun as well. Because the first half of the book honestly was fun, and the second half of the book wasn't. So right down the middle. The first half of the book really was fun, and I liked it. I was honestly like, first halfway through, I was like, yeah, this is going to be a really good podcast. We're going to have so much to talk about. That's the stuff we did talk about. And the second half of the book, we honestly didn't even touch. Didn't touch any of that Inuit stuff, any of the Pacific Islander stuff. It's because it's not important and it doesn't mean anything. Like it was just dumb. As far as importance, I'd give it a 4. 4 because I think it's important to understand how people manipulate data, especially in the health industry. And that was really abundant when he talks about the sugar industry paying colleges, paying studies, paying people. Like most studies that come out are paid for by somebody. More than likely, it's paid by somebody who will have financial gain if their study is viewed by people. Like there's always a financial purpose to people paying for studies. People don't pay for studies out of the goodness of their heart. They're not like, oh, you know what? I really want to know this answer, so I'm going to pay somebody to do it. No, they pay for studies so that they can sell more products. So I think that is a very important thing to learn. And sugar is a very, clear cut way of showing that. And then I do think it is important to learn about diabetes. So I put a 4. I just think it wouldn't, if again, he had approached it in a more holistic view, I would give this book a 5, but he doesn't. It is very myopic in his, determination to just make sugar the end all be all of health. So that's why it doesn't get a 5, but it does bring up a lot of points, and sugar's not great for you. So, so I think it is an important book. So that's what I would give it.
Some rapid fire fast facts. Did you know that sugar was in cigarettes?
Yeah, I did not before this.
I didn't either. I thought that was crazy. I was like, what?
Yeah, as if nicotine wasn't addictive enough, they were just spiking it with sugar.
Yeah, I don't know why that it never clicked in my mind, but they put tons of sugar in. In fact, one of the most carcinogenic, or is that how you say that?
Yeah.
Cancer-causing agents in it is the fact that you're smoking the sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. The other thing, when I wrote that paper on non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and cystic fibrosis, All of the research papers that I read that were done in America, if you scroll down to the very bottom, you have to have a note of conflict of interests, right? And it will say who the experiment was like, or the study was funded by. And all of the ones that were done in America, maybe these were just the ones that were most, pertinent to what I was trying to display in my paper. But all of the ones that were done in America were paid for by somebody in the food industry. And then all the ones that were done in Europe, they had no conflicts of interest because they're all paid for by the European Union. So if you're out there reading scientific papers, my opinion, read European ones. Yeah, the other one was, oh gosh. It was like, it had to do something with like the native, like Alaskans, like the Inuit tribe, when he was talking about like the rate of diabetes that they had was higher than like any other people or whatever. And he said it was because they relied so much on like building fat storages during like wintertime, because like food scarcity was like a big thing there compared to like other native communities. Did you know that? I had heard that before, that like Native Alaskans in particular are more susceptible to obesity because of their genes, and that like they just need to hold on to fat because they're not eating as much food throughout the year as everybody else. Mm-hmm. But it was interesting that he brought that up. I didn't think he would, but yeah, 3 fast facts.
Nice. Thanks for those fast facts.
Yeah.
Very interesting. But again, to recap, for those of you who missed or skipped past some of the housekeeping at the beginning of the episode, the next episode will be on Boys in the Boat. Then after that will be 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. And then we're going to read, man, I don't know why I keep blanking on this. All the Lonely People. Sometime in the month, I'll be dropping that episode randomly. So if you want to read along with the Bookly podcast, those are the next couple books. I will be releasing January's schedule here pretty shortly. I think I'm going to try to get one more month ahead because I am starting to realize that people don't read or listen to books as fast as I do. I crank through them. So I will be releasing a schedule a little bit early here. And yeah, I think that's everything. So for those of you who are still listening, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe if you're listening on YouTube. I have had some pretty nice comments on YouTube recently.
Have you had a bad one? A mean one?
Yeah, I've had one mean person.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang, those people.
I know. I've had like
edgelords
from like 4 or 5 strangers. I've had a lot of people say like, "This is amazing. You should be a lot bigger than you're doing. Your production's great. Your content's great. Like I love the idea." Yeah. So I've had a couple of those, and then I had one person that was like, "Waste of space on YouTube." That's all he said. I was like, "All right, oh boy, I've seen some dumb YouTube videos."
I watch a lot of dumb YouTube videos, and I can attest to the fact that this is not a waste of space.
So
I know where the waste of space is, if anybody's wondering.
Yeah. So that's about it. But yeah, like, comment, and subscribe. Say some nice things. I always like seeing people say nice things. Makes me feel good.
All right.
And then if you are on Apple or Spotify or anywhere else that podcasts are listened to, please leave us a 5-star review. It helps boost the overall channel visibility. And then we're still looking for guests on the podcast. So if you want to be a guest, come on. We can read a book. We've got a couple people lined up for January, but I'm still looking for, I think, 1 or 2 guests in January and then some in February as well. So if you're wanting to read a book with me, let me know. We can see what we can do to get you on the podcast. And if you have any guest suggestions of people that you would like to see on the podcast, please drop me a comment or message me on Instagram, and we can see if we can get that to happen. So let me know what you guys want to see, and we'll keep developing the podcast in that direction. Thanks for listening.